Oh my God, you're gonna love it. Hey folks, welcome to the AI Chicks, where we're providing you cool conversations about AI for all. With each episode bringing you a different topic on how AI is impacting your and our daily lives. I'm your host, Aisha Corpus-Wynn, always coming in hot with that fun, unique perspective on tech. And of course, I got my bestie here.
Hi guys, I'm Lana Hat, bringing the curls, the charisma, and that entrepreneurial energy.
So Lana, what are we getting into today?
Today, we're talking about AI and mental health with Dr. Ali.
Our dear friend Dr. Ali is joining us, and we're looking forward to it. All right, listeners, we have a special guest in the building, Dr. Ali. She is a psychofuturist. We're going to get into that, and a mental health expert. Thank you for joining us on the AI Chicks.
First of all, I am so excited. You have no idea. I love talking and getting to talk without anybody telling me what to do. I love it. It's about to get crazy.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
And just so you guys know, we've known Dr. Ali for years. We go way back. Yeah. And I'm so excited to have her on this podcast to get into some AI and life, beauty, mental health, all the things.
All the things. So Dr. Ali, for the people who do not know you, can you give us a little bit of background on who you are?
I have a PhD in clinical psychology with an emphasis in health.
So she's a real doctor, guys.
So I'm an actual doctor with like entirely too many degrees. I say I'm your not so friendly neighborhood life coach who got all the degrees so you don't have to. But I pivoted into life coaching. I pivoted into media. That's one of the ways Aisha and I also know each other. Been featured on a few different shows, like Mother Like Daughter was a show that I actually hosted with my mom.
Who's also a doctor.
I'm the 8th doctor in my family.
I was just about to give the tea. Literally, they're like a family of doctors.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do a TV show with your whole entire family since I've met you.
But yeah, so I worked in mental health, and then I pivoted over into media and have done like a lot of on-air work in relationships. And now I'm pivoting into the space that I really, really, really love, which is beauty.
A big topic of conversation is AI and mental health. So I'm very curious, as someone who has a background in psychology, how can AI help prevent mental health issues as they arise?
So there's a number of things. Obviously, no tool is perfectly useful in all circumstances. Mm-hmm. When people have conversations about AI in general, I want to help them understand that. If you're talking about a hammer, for example, a hammer can build a beautiful home for somebody, but it can also be like a weapon used to harm people. With AI and mental health, there's a lot of fear and trepidation that people have because obviously we've seen things like on social media, because I'm chronically online. IG is nothing compared to my literal TikTok obsession. It's really bad. But what we've seen is like this increase in what people are calling spiritual psychosis on that app, which is not a real diagnosis. What we can see is that AI takes people's words a little too literally. It has a difficult time creating nuance when somebody might be speaking in metaphor or might be speaking a little bit more flowery. And so when people are talking about emotions, they tend to use lots of metaphor because emotions are abstract things that are hard to like really pin down as like, what is sadness? How do you explain what loneliness is, right? And so if you have AI that's been built by somebody, a bajillion people are building these data sets for these AI generators. So you have these people who are building these things, and it has this idea of like, okay, this is what loneliness is. But then somebody presents with something else and the app gets it wrong. Or if somebody says something like, hey, I'm going to, walk over this bridge. What's the difference between walk over a bridge and walk off a bridge? And how does AI know the difference? And are they saying it metaphorically, or are they saying it as a part of like a suicidal ideation? Right now, it seems like these models aren't really finely tuned enough to really capture what a person is saying. And so if you have a person across from you, they're looking at your body language. What did you wear that day? Do you have proper hygiene? Because that's like some of the things you look for as a clinician. Mm-hmm. Is it different from the last time your client came to see you? And so you're able to create more context that AI might not fully be able to create yet.
IQ versus EQ. The perfect example you talked about when you're seeing someone, you can just feel someone's energy, even though they're saying something else. You can feel that they're sad or feel that they're excited. Or someone can say, oh yeah, I'm fine, but you can read on their face that they're not. So there are these nuances that when you're just dealing with a chatbot or an LLM, or even with a voice recognition AI tool, they're not going to always get all of the nuances of a human's dynamic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They can't. But then on the flip side, what they can do is monitor your keystrokes, the type of language you're using in your text messages. And there's ways that we've been able to detect a person's depression levels based on how they're texting, what they're searching online. And so an AI could theoretically actually have more access to you than a clinician. In my mind, as a psychofuturist, right, as somebody who's thinking about the future of psychology and where it's going, where human neurological evolution is going, how is there a way that we could integrate the two? The digital side, where these AIs are maybe monitoring what people are doing, what's going on, especially for someone who's high risk, and then a real life human can be like, oh, I know them. Let me sit down with this information that AI gave me so that I can help them out. For example, in psych hospitals, we have this thing called a one-on-one. People who actually sit with a patient who's high risk, and they'll be there all day. So if we could have a combination of monitoring at a digital level and a human level, I think that could be something that could be really helpful.
I think you touched on something that was really interesting when you were talking about the conversations with an LLM, because it's about intent of use. People who made these LLMs maybe did not think about the mental health conversations that an individual was going to be having with it.
With a lot of the tech, it evolves. When they first created social media apps, they weren't thinking that there would be the whole influencer and whole social media manager industry and all of the other things like that. So I do agree with you that a lot of the tech industry is encouraged to be innovative.
Exactly.
That's the whole point of what tech does. So then they are innovating something new,
right,
but then not understanding the full applications and capabilities and impact of it until we really start embedding it into society and usage.
I don't think that they necessarily anticipated people having conversations with chat about their emotions or about what things they were struggling with. Part of understanding the model's capabilities is understanding the guardrails that they put up. I know I've heard from a lot of people talking about how they use AI, and I've heard a lot of people talking about if I've had an argument with a significant other or a coworker, I'm now telling chat the rundown of what happened. Chat, am I valid for how I felt, or did I handle it correctly? Which I do not know if the tech engineers thought that it was going to go that specific.
Yeah,
I think the tech engineers thought it would be a problem solver in the way that you ask it for questions for work or homework or things like that.
We don't know necessarily who's back there. Like you're saying, the original purpose of it was more to help people edit copy and search for things. It's like a word prediction system, right? And they didn't maybe realize that, people are going to be asking complicated issues of spirituality and morality. And, I've seen people using it as a religious leader.
Really?
Oh, yeah, girl.
I've missed that one in my feed.
See, you're not chronically on TikTok. At the end of the day, that's a part of the solution as well, right? Yes. It's failing fast. They're figuring out new use cases as they go along because we are all, for better or worse, kind of testing this out.
Yes.
Right?
Very true.
Together. We're all testing it out
collectively.
Together.
We are all seeing what's going to happen, what's going to work, and what's not going to work. And I think that over time, we're going to have more specialized models that will be trained specifically for things like mental health. Because one positive thing about it is there are not enough clinicians all the time, right? Healthcare is harder for some people to access, just on a very real point. Even within having healthcare, you don't always have access to a clinician every single day. Some places will only give you 9 sessions a quarter, and we recommend you to come in every single week. And so if you don't have access to a clinician, in the future, I think that could be something that could be tested in a really ethical way and that we could roll out in the future.
On that note, I think that's where the collaboration of tech with specific mental health experts, psychofuturists.
And that's happening. That's happening.
And I think that's where we are seeing the marketplace go for a lot of different subsets of the AI industry. They're having that collaboration with the experts of that field to make something that is more focused
and tailored to the intended use.
Because it can be very, very helpful because I know people who are waiting for clinicians for 3 or 4 months, people who are actively suicidal. There's a lot of people who need help and support.
And when you think about it on a global scale, between political, mental, emotional, and physical unrest, globally, there's not enough experts out there. So there's so many different subsets of mental health.
With a lot of resources, let's say, domestic violence, it could be well, here's some steps, here's some websites, here's some numbers you can call. It could really do that pretty quickly, maybe even quicker than reaching out to somebody. Because also with DV, for example, if you have a partner that sees your phone or sees that you've been on a particular website, that could be a real problem. And a lot of the websites will have this emergency out and you can click a button on the website and it'll take you somewhere else really quickly so your partner doesn't see. And so AI could be very helpful in that way that it could allow you to have access to resources that maybe you didn't know existed. existed.
I think in the medical field, telehealth was definitely something that has transformed it because if you can't drive to see the doctor, there's different reasons why people need telehealth. Yeah. It's just way more convenient. Do you have any thoughts as a psychofuturist of what can people expect of technology with mental health?
Yeah, if I had to like guess about the future, right? Because that's why I'm here. I do think resources is number one. That's something that we can kind of already do to an extent on Google if we know what to search, because I think that's a big issue right now as well as prompt engineering, figuring out how to communicate even with like a search on Google, having kind of like an AI advanced search feature, right? So we'll give you resources, access, and responsible information. So we know that there's like a lot of hallucinations, but there's certain ways you can query to avoid some of those hallucinations. And I'm a Chat GPT girl. I use all of them at some point, but I kind of have stuck with Chat 5.0 is where I'm at right now. And they now give you links, which I really, really love because they didn't do that a few versions ago. And so you can actually read the articles and get the good information. So one, I think that's one of them. And then two, I think if we kind of slowly progress into it, instead of just like dropping something super alien on people, fully talking to an AI and that being your primary caregiver, I think is going to be too big of a jump. But I think going to something hybrid initially, where you can get some perspectives and ideas from the AI, you can maybe tell it some things, and it can have the right types of information programmed into it, access to journals behind paywalls that a lot of people don't typically have access to, literature that understands this person's particular issues. And then if something arises, like ding, 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 it lets the therapist know.
Yeah, and it can identify triggers when it has that type of data behind it.
This doesn't sound right. Let's contact a person that can find you. It can begin to detect your levels of depression, levels of anxiety, just based on the words that you use and the order in which you use them. And so you can really start to get a good idea. And they've been able to do pretty decent sentiment analysis, I'll say, for maybe the past like 4 or 5 years, even before we had this huge surge in AI. It's pretty good at figuring you out.
We've experienced that in entertainment in a different sense. You can actually run a script through an AI platform and it will break down the emotional journey of the script and then actually give you predictive analysis based off of audience data of what the audience emotional experience will be at the different scenes and stage of the script.
What the audience's journey is going to be.
Read the script, break down the emotional grading of the script, but then on top of that, the peaks of intensity, anger, sadness that the film would take you on as an audience member, especially when you are maybe doing a horror movie or a thriller movie. You want the results to be in that predictive analysis that the audience would feel. That's just for entertainment. Imagine how it can evolve for actually real human experiences and emotions, analyzing things, and not just the text data, but also computer vision. It's going to be using a lot of different AI modalities for humans to interact with it on a more regular basis.
And you just got me thinking, I think we need to do a study where we look at what the AI predicted and then we actually measure audiences. You look at like where their eyes going on the screen with you have glasses that'll track and then like doing some heart rate variability stuff, maybe even like some sweating skin conductance, and then comparing the data to what AI actually predicted. And that could help train AI models on human emotion.
Even better. Yeah. And that's the thing is when we're talking about this, you guys, I know we're kind of nerding out here on some.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, this is good. This is good because we speak this language. But I just want to break it down for some of our listeners and audience. There's all of these different AI capabilities and AI platforms and tools that are doing some of these things completely separately from one another. But what we're talking about is if you combine all of these into a multimodal AI system that is primarily focused for the purpose of mental health, this can really take it to the next level.
This idea of connecting the real life emotion to what AI perceives, I think can be so helpful with what you talked about earlier, telehealth. Because during the pandemic, we all switched so fast into this telehealth space. Everything changed. Literally, I look at research as pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. Everything is so different now, especially in the space of mental health. If I see a study from like 2010, I'm like, the dark ages.
Back in the old days.
Back in the olden days, I'm like, how? How do we even understand? Because with telehealth, we get an opportunity to see a person, but you don't always get an opportunity to feel that person. So if there could be some type of wearable or some type of other technology that is able to kind of connect to that part of them, because let's be real, you don't really know your patient's heart rate when you're sitting in the room with them. So we have these devices called biofeedback devices that in the mental health community they would use. So skin conductance and resistance is the measure of how sweaty your hands are. And that can indicate a person's anxiety, a person's stress levels. You can wear this little band around your chest that measures how fast you're breathing, how slow you're breathing. And then we can also look at like skin temperature. You put a little thing on your finger and measure that. And so with those types of devices, we could actually understand a little bit more about what is going on inside of a person. And I feel like AI can be really super helpful with that.
And before we get too far in, I think we've covered so much, but we forgot to do some of our standard AI Chicks segments here.
Yes, the first one being our AI take.
So Lana, who are we hearing from today?
Today we're hearing from Claude about AI and mental health.
According to Claude, AI systems show promise for expanding mental health access through chatbots, therapy apps, and early screening tools, but they can't replace human therapists for complex conditions or provide the nuanced understanding that comes from lived experience. The main concerns are over-reliance on AI for serious issues, privacy of sensitive data, and the risk of oversimplified responses to deeply personal struggles. While AI can offer 24/7 support and reduce barriers to initial help seeking, most experts see it as a supplement to, not a replacement for, human mental health care.
Okay, so Dr. Ali, was Claude Clauding?
I think Claude Clauded. I think it's pretty accurate, right? That it can help with immediate needs. If somebody needs like an assessment quickly, it can probably do that pretty accurately. I've actually seen some studies about like diagnostics when it comes to AI being able to measure that. And I think the idea of 24-hour access, I think is also really important.
Yeah.
There are some diagnoses that do require a little bit more contact with the clinician. If some of that could be offloaded to AI in the future, I think that theoretically could be helpful. But it said we cannot replace a therapist. We cannot replace a human with AI. And that is also
Facts.
100% correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think this is one of the main topics where AI was very direct in saying AI cannot replace humans in this area. I don't think we've ever had an AI take that specifically said it like that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it's because of the topic,
Yeah, of
right?
course, of
Mental
course.
health and the fact that there needs to be guardrails is something that's so important. And I think we touched on that a little bit earlier in our conversation. People want the access to resources and help, but depending on the severity of their specific case, I don't think it can replace a human clinician. It could be a really great way of opening up the conversation about mental health. It's actually something that I think these LLMs have done. I'm hoping that it will destigmatize mental health as a conversation. What I'm actually curious about is if these mental health specific tools will become popular. Are people going to want to just have access to just the mental health LLM? Or this is my overall health LLM and one aspect of it is mental health?
I think there's going to be a combination, right? Because I could imagine that hospital systems will probably start developing more AIs. There's a lot of like mental health platforms now that are very specialized to mental health, and they're very popular and they're doing really well. Because I think that the stigma has actually gone down since the pandemic. People realized, fuck, I need help.
Not just that, I think also too it's a generational thing because millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they have no problem being like, I need a me day, I'm not going into work.
Oh, they have boundaries. Gen Z has boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're also right that because of society globally, we went through such a big shift during the pandemic, and I think it's formed a new dynamic within society.
Yeah, and we actually saw an increase in people going to therapy too. Therapist offices are still packed. People are not taking any more new clients. And so that's like one positive thing. And then on the other side, there was a study that was done pre-pandemic. These were like young millennials, maybe early Gen Z. And they actually are more comfortable with an avatar image than a human image. And so I do think that there's going to be a big generational divide because you have to think we're women of a certain age and we were raised with human interaction. I didn't have a cell phone until I was like in high school.
Yeah.
AOL was a little disc that got mailed to your house. And so we developed our identities without technology, right? Your personality locks in around 7, right? You kind of develop and learn 75% of the things you're almost ever going to know by the time you're 7. And now 7-year-olds have lived their entire life online. And so they relate differently. And we don't exactly know what that's going to look like when these 7-year-olds are 45. It's going to change the way mental health even looks for that generation. What is helpful for them, what isn't. We want to hold back on the bias that we have for our own generation and believing that we were raised in the perfect way. But we also want to acknowledge the importance of the way the brain has evolved to need other humans, right? We have frontal lobes and mirror neurons that make it really important. We have a huge part of our brain that evolved to be with people.
With mental health, the younger generations are so open about it. They're making so many videos about, hey, I had a hard day today. Hey, I was crying about this, or hey, I felt bad, or people's weight loss journeys and their emotional journeys of getting out of a marriage. There's a lot more documentation of the actual emotional process than ever before.
Yeah.
But with that also comes the documentation of beauty. I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about AI's role both in social social media in general, as well as beauty standards.
I know, from the filters that change what people think is attractive, all the way to generating AI avatars.
Yeah.
So tell us the tea.
This is the side that I am a little bit more concerned about, because AI generated images tend towards classic American beauty standards. That's because, the way in which it scrapes the internet, the way in which it was trained. So you have, rooms full of people who are coding about what is like typical. So you get the perspective of the builder. And, I don't know them. But I do know data, and most of them are male. Not all of them are African American or Hispanic. And so we tend to have a particular perspective that gets told through their unconscious biases, right? What is a beautiful woman? Dove has an amazing AI campaign. I think it's called Keep Beauty Real.
Oh, nice.
They actually have this PDF that you can download that teaches you how to create prompts that provide you with beauty images of women or whomever you want that is reflective of reality.
Oh, wow.
And they
Good
actually
for Dove.
Dove has been on the forefront of beauty research for like 25 years.
Yeah, they've done so many great campaigns. Yeah.
Dove, you're wonderful.
Yes.
Dove, I love you.
If you want to sponsor, all of us, we'll take it.
This campaign is amazing because if you type in "show me a beautiful woman" based on the Dove campaign, it's showing you a different image. So I like that they were training people in how to create these prompts, because learning how to prompt engineer is going to be really important for Gen Z. How do you create like the world that you want to see, the world that actually reflects reality? And the other part, like with social media, for example, we definitely see the longer you're on social media, the higher people's depression is, the higher their anxiety is, the lower their self-esteem is.
Do you think that's because of comparison culture?
Absolutely. Yes. And it's all edited. It's all constructed. I am not the same person I am exactly when I'm on social media. And this goes back to a psychological concept of self, right? There's multiple selves. We don't act the same at the club as when we're at church. Those are two different parts of ourself, and they're both important to integrate. So there's a lot of comparison with a very limited side of a person. But because it's social media, you think it's real. And so because your brain defaults toward it being real, you believe that you're just not matching up.
Yeah.
You don't know what's on the other side of that camera.
It is one dimensional. You're only seeing one dimension, and then you're comparing all of your dimensions to their one dimension.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And then you start to beat yourself up and you're mad. Even if you know a video is AI, your brain still registers it as
real.
I don't look like that.
Yeah.
1 in 3 women have issues with self-esteem because of the things that they're seeing online. Even before AI, we still had images on magazine covers that were edited. They've been always trying to make women perfect. You're not the right size. Oh, you're not the right color. Oh, you don't have the right this, the right that, as a way to kind of like almost kind of like needle at you. Because then there's this concept of the cost of beauty. So now we have society telling you again and again and again, you're not beautiful. You need to buy this. You need to buy that. You need to buy this. It's capitalism. They create the need and then they create the solution. And so like the average woman has something around 12 products that they use on a daily basis. And each product on the conservative end is like $20 to $30. And so I think with time, hopefully we'll find ways to change the way we relate to ourselves and understand like AI is not going to give us a proper representation. So how can we change that? Potentially by changing people behind the code. Do we teach more girls to code? Are we teaching our baby girls this is what we have to do? I don't know.
Well, AI generated images, but also filters has really changed people's perspective of themselves, in which now they're getting plastic surgery to look like the features that they're getting from the filter. It's AI impacting beauty and mental health on another level.
In the research in beauty, there's a concept called averageness. When you get multiple faces from a particular population and you digitally put them together and you average them, you get this face. And what we're seeing is kind of like a homogenization of faces. It's called Instagram face, where because these filters do the same thing to everyone's face. So all of the dynamic differences in people's facial presentations are now being kind of like averaged. Now everyone has the same face. You're walking around town and you're like, are they all related? Is there a family reunion? And you're like, no, everyone's just getting the same injections, the same stuff.
And doing the same makeup.
Yeah. Instead of relying on like, oh, I actually love my face. Listen, I'm never going to tell someone to not do something to their body that they want to do. I just want people to understand why they want to do it.
Yeah, and where it's coming from.
Where is it coming from? And men's bodies and women's bodies are objectified differently. So objectification is the process of turning a complicated, dynamic person into a single dimensioned object for use. So men have been objectified partly for work and labor. And women's bodies, the labor that we do is for the pleasure of men or for procreation for men, again, right? Where our bodies are seen in context of men's desires. And so I think that we have to begin to detach from wanting to be pleasing to others just for the sake of them being happy and turn it inward and say, how do I find happiness in my body, in my face? Then we can start to figure out how it is we go about moving through these digital spaces.
How do we handle this problem from the AI standpoint? Companies like Dove that are talking about real women and showing images of real women, but that also really infiltrating the data sets because these models need more data. So if all of the models are using the Instagram face as the standard of beauty, well, then that's all it's going to perpetuate. So we need to give it more data of all the different ways that a woman can look, skin tones, hair, facial features, body types, all of it.
And that requires capturing that data, gather those types of data sets from those people, get those pictures, get those videos, get those measurements. It sounds easy, and I totally agree with you. We talk about this all the time, but then when you really think about it,
it's not easy.
It's this whole layer of needing to get those types of communities to give their information, share their data points, share their images to then feed those data systems.
Right. I also think it's an SEO problem.
Oh,
If
yeah,
you're
that's a
not
good thing,
tagging
too.
the
Yeah.
image beautiful woman because an individual might not consider a particular expression of beauty beautiful, then the AI can't pick up on it. That's why I do talk a lot about the importance that like beauty is objective. It is not a solid thing. There is no singular definition of it. And so I think that's what AI needs to really work on, that there is no singular definition of what is beautiful. Everyone is actually beautiful, but we live in a system that does seek to control us because control is one of the things that keeps society kind of moving forward to a degree, right? If things are too chaotic, a community will disintegrate, right? You got to stay on the lines on the freeway. If everyone was doing loop-de-loops all day, we wouldn't be able to get anywhere, right?
Yeah.
There's a certain level of control and order, but this might be a thing that doesn't need to be so highly controlled. And I think we have to start having a conversation with ourselves about it because now AI is really reflecting back at us because I think that's what AI is good at doing, at showing us who created it.
The mirror.
The mirror. It is showing us who we are.
All the bias and the ethical issues
It
is
does.
all from humanity,
It does.
definitely.
Right.
Well, on that note, I got to get in the nickname game before we wrap up here.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, honestly, Dr. Allie is a nickname. She is Dr. Allie, but we did think of some other nicknames.
Yeah,
I love
so
it. Okay.
we need to give you a nickname to induct you into the AI squad officially before we
Yes.
wrap up.
Yes.
So, Lana, what were you thinking?
She's sort of like the beauty doc.
Can I take that?
Okay, beauty doc. Okay, I think earlier we were saying maybe we've never really dubbed anyone Dr. AI.
Yes.
We've had some doctors on the podcast, but we've never leaned in on that. So
No, but
you could
also she was bringing some doctor vibes
I
on
know,
this
you
podcast
could be the
today.
AI Chicks AI Squad first. Dr. AI.
Okay.
So we got Dr. Allie, we got Beauty Doc, and then we got Dr. AI.
What do you think?
Beauty doc. Beauty doc's got it. Beauty doc's got
She
it.
was one and done for sure.
I was in it.
All right, well, Beauty Doc, welcome to the AI Chicks. Woo, 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 woo.
Thank you so much, Beauty Doc, for joining us.
Yes.
Hope you really enjoyed the conversation and diving in with us.
Thank you so much for your insights on mental health, beauty, social media. We talked about a lot of subjects today.
And I feel like the big takeaway that I have from this conversation is really that nuance is the magical
Yes.
word when it comes to AI
Yes.
and mental health. It really comes down to finding that nice balance of AI being able to handle the nuances of different human experiences.
That's beautiful. Yeah, because humans are soft. They say psychology is a soft science, and that's why, because humans are soft. We have to bend and flex with them, and AI is a more rigid thing. And so it's hard for something that's rigid to understand something soft, but I think we're getting closer.
On that note, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode with Dr. Allie, aka Beauty Doc, on AI and mental health. Don't forget to listen to the podcast, subscribe.
And make sure to also subscribe and follow Dr. Allie.
Yes.
And make sure to grab that merch. All right, you guys, take care.
Bye.
Listen to the AI Chicks on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Video episodes are available on Patreon. And check out our socials at The AI Chicks.